We begin now with the shooting of two police officers in Ferguson. The Obama administration today departed from its war against law enforcement, with Attorney General Holder condemning the shooting.
What happened last night was a ambush. This was not someone trying to bring healing to Ferguson. This was a damn punk who was trying to sow discord in an area that is trying to get its act together and trying to bring together a community that has been fractured for too long.
Joining me now, Nigel Ennis. He's national spokesperson for the Congress on Racial Equality, and Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke. Gentlemen, good to have you with us. Let me begin with you, Sheriff, and ask the simple question. Ambush, whatever you style this, an attack on police officers. We have seen an uptick in the number of these shootings over recent weeks. What is going on here in your view?
Well, it's a continued assault on the American police officer. It's brazen now. This isn't the first one, as you indicated. This war on police continues. But I'm incensed at the President of the United States, who, after this tragic and serious incident last night where two St. Louis area police officers were shot, taking on live fire, all he can do is issue a tweet expressing that the behavior was unacceptable. That is the height of laziness, that he couldn't put on a suit and go to the East Room of the Rose Garden and issue a heartfelt condemnation of this violence against the American law enforcement officer. It's just a continued behavior, if you will, of his utter contempt for our community's finest.
And Nigel, what role do you think the President, Attorney General Holder, should be playing here? Or, in your judgment, what they're doing, is it adequate?
Oh, it's far from adequate. I mean, they're not the firefighters putting out the fire. They're pouring kerosene on the fire, and have been throughout this incident. Before the investigation was, Justice Holder's was even completed, Holder came out and he compared the Ferguson incident to the death and the murder, the vicious lynching of Emmett Till, which occurred in 1950s Mississippi, where a black boy, 15-year-old black boy, was lynched for whistling at a white girl. President Obama went before the United Nations and the entire world, and he compared Ferguson to ISIS, cutting off heads. He compared it to Russia invading Ukraine. These gentlemen, along with their civil rights consigliere, Al Sharpton, have set the tone and the environment where police officers' lives are on the line and they're being assassinated. An outrage.
And, Sheriff, policemen, right now, there has been a truce in New York City where Mayor Bill de Blasio, who had been part of the assault on law enforcement in this country, he has rather quickly pulled back in his, if you will, his offense against all law enforcement, but particularly New York's police department. Do you expect to see a change of tone here? Because there are consequences to the rhetoric being used by this administration and others.
No, because this administration has capitalized, if you will, on this divide and conquer strategy. They've divided men against women with this fictitious war on women. They've divided the rich against the poor, the black against the white, and he's been successful at it. So I don't see him backing off of this strategy at all. But again, these are some powerful people. What I need to hear from these individuals, Eric Holder, President Obama, and de Blasio, is to remind our young black males that if we want to end these deadly encounters, stop resisting the police, stop trying to disarm the police, stop trying to fight the police, and stop trying to flee from the police. Because when you engage in those behaviors, you're going to a very dark place where things aren't going to work out for you. That's what I need to hear from these individuals instead of this innocuous stuff that is simply unacceptable. We all know this is unacceptable.
And I wonder, too, Nigel, the Attorney General didn't say what one would have expected from the top law enforcement official in this country. This administration is going to do everything in its power to bring these assailants to justice, to apprehend them. It's a strange omission on the part of the top law enforcement officer of the country, don't you think?
I think it is, but I think it's because it's not a part of his ideological or the president's ideological DNA. I mean, they are much more comfortable palling around with the likes of an Al Sharpton. You know, de Blasio as well has made Al Sharpton almost like a don within New York City politics. And these leaders are grossly irresponsible. And I hope at some point the voters of New York in the next mayoral election and the voters of the United States rebuke and utterly reject this, as Sheriff Clarke brilliantly said, this divide and conquer strategy. We should remember our emblem as the United States, e pluribus unum, out of many one. And these individuals, de Blasio, Sharpton, Holder, Obama, and their minions have divided this country terribly.
Niger, thanks for being with us. Niger Ennis,
Thank
Sheriff
you.
David Clarke. Thank you, gentlemen.